Ladies and gentlemen, it is day 6. We are back. We're going to be solving from where we left off yesterday. As always, we start off from the checklist. We got to look at the checks and then the captures. We look at the first position here. As we've been progressing, you all should get used to looking at the checks. First things first, I see 3, 4, 5 with the queen, and 6 and 7 possible checks, but it seems really simple here because after queen h1, king g3, I see how many checks? I see this check, I see this check. So after queen h1, and then king g3 is the only move. There's 2 possible checks. There's actually a lot. There's king h2, queen h2, queen h3, queen h4, queen g2, queen f3. But we don't have to look at all of those because after this check, oh, it just solved it for us. I don't know why it solved it for us, but this is the continuation. Let's analyze the position. The continuation is queen to h1. So the opponent plays queen g6, and then there's rook to h3. And I was talking about there's this check, this check, this check, this check, and this check. But when you realize there's rook h3, the pawns defend all of the squares, the queen covers everything, and it's actually checkmate on the next move. So we go back and then we move on. All right. So once again, we start off from the checklist. We have to look at checks. If you look at checks in this position, you realize that it's automatically checkmate because this rank is covered by the rook and the king protects this pawn is guarded by this pawn, and this is actually checkmate. In one move, we move on. What else do we have here? Once again, we have to look at all of the possible checks in the position. This one is a little more complicated actually. Chess.com doing us actually it's not even complicated. We have to start off from the checklist, and all of these puzzles so far that we've solved, they've all been checks, if you've noticed. And when you pull a check, the game normally, it's the most forcing move. So we have actually 3 possible checks here. We're gonna play pawn to g4, king to h4, and then there's rook to h4 check, and it's actually mate because the pawn defends this, the rook defends the pawn here, and the king has no escape squares. So this is checkmate, and we move on. So okay, we're gonna switch over to survival because our daily puzzles are done. We've already with our daily 3 puzzles, we've gotten to 1060 elo already. So if you just do this checklist, you're gonna be able to improve very fast. So once again, checklist. We look at all the checks. I see a check here. I see a check here. Any other checks? I don't see any. You can eliminate this option really quickly because the pawn takes, but you can't eliminate this one because after queen h4, the king has 1 move, and then you look for checks again. I see this check and I see this check, and when you realize that queen f2 is defended by the pawn, it's actually checkmate. So we move on. Let's solve 2, 3 more here. This one might not be a check position, so let's see how many checks do we have. Knight can't pull any checks, rook can't pull any checks, queen can't pull any checks, but we have to check our captures because if there's no checks, you have to move on to the captures. So we're moving on to the captures. Let's see here. We have this capture. We have this capture. What else do we have? We have this capture. So we have a bunch of captures. We have this capture also. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna start off from the most value piece and then trickle down to the pawns. Pawns being the lowest value. So we're gonna start off from the last. So the first capture I'm looking at is this one, rook to d4. Let's say in best case scenario, opponent takes back, we're gonna take back, opponent takes back, it's a check, and if the king goes here, the king actually gets smother mated. Well, not really actually, it's not so simple. Okay, hold up, let's just evaluate this position first. So let's say we hypothetically went into this and then king here. Actually, this is just checkmate, so the king has to move here. Okay, this is what I just realized. Take, and take. If the king goes to h1, we have to look for checks in the new position, right? So check, and then it's mate on the back rank. The opponent gets mated. But if the opponent goes into this sequence and then plays king to f1, we have to check our checks again. And when you look at the checks in this new position, you see that knight to e2 is a fork. But let's say the opponent plays an in-between move and does something like takes this pawn. What we're gonna do, which threatens mate, so we would have to respond. We would just simply take back and then continue our variation. And if the opponent doesn't take back here, we just win a piece. So take, and just to show the position, I just want to show this fully. Let's say it was we take, they take, we take, and then let's say I wanna actually, why can I not play? Okay, can we analyze this? All right, let's analyze this. If we take, they take, we take, this is what I was talking about. And then they play king to h1, and then it's back rank checkmate. The opponent can't defend this. He has to sack his queen and his rook. So, the opponent has to go king f1, but when he goes king f1, it's actually a fork on the king and the rook, queen, ending the game on the spot. So, once again, we couldn't find any checks in the first position. We moved on to captures. We checked all the captures, and then we realized that it's actually winning toward the end. That one was a little bit more complicated, but definitely doable. Once again, we have final position of the day. We're gonna move from the checklist. Any checks? How many checks do I see? 1 check, 2 check, 3 check, 4 check. So there's 4 checks, guys. So if you start off by looking at this position from 4 checks, you're gonna automatically see it. So this one can be, by the way, when we count the material, it's rook for rook, rook for rook, knight, 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 and bishop for bishop. So, and we don't have a queen, so it's queen for bishop. So we're down a queen for a bishop, okay? So we have to, this has to be a mating attack. So the first check I'm gonna look at is knight f6 because it limits the king the most. Knight to f6, king to f8 is the only move because the knight defends. And then after king to f8, I have to look for checks. I see that there's knight h7 and knight d7. And I also see that there's bishop h6. And when you realize that there's bishop h6, it's actually checkmate. But let's say I didn't see knight f6 and I saw queen d. Knight d6 is eliminated because the queen takes. Bishop b5 is eliminated because the bishop or the knight block. And bishop f7 is eliminated because the king takes. So this is the only logical option. And then you pull a check and it's actually checkmate. So I mean, this is a logical game. So when you're calculating like this, you're gonna find the solutions anyways. But this is using the calculation technique. So that's it for today. Once again, use the checklist properly, and you're gonna solve these puzzles correctly. I'll see you all tomorrow.